situation together, and we loved on each other, and I think that's what, I mean, just that feeling of togetherness, I think that's the biggest thing that we'll take away.
How much did this continue to build?
The roar of the crowd was different that night. It wasn't just the buzz of a basketball game. It was the sound of anticipation. Every flashbulb, every chant, every eye in the building locked onto one figure in white and gold. Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom from Iowa, had officially arrived in the WNBA. The wait was over, and as she laced up her shoes for her first game with the Indiana Fever, history seemed to lean forward in its seat. The moment came early, and suddenly, a loose ball along the sideline, Nelson Adota diving to save it, and somehow, by instinct or fate, the ball found Clark. She scooped it up, reading the floor with that calculating calm that had already become her signature. For half a second, she toyed with the idea of pulling up from three, the kind of shot that made her a legend in college, but instead she glided through defenders, slicing to the rim, and kissed it off the glass. The first points of Caitlin Clark's WNBA career. The crowd erupted like it had been holding its breath for a year. It wasn't just a basket. It was a signal. Clark wasn't here to blend in. She was here to bend the league to her rhythm. Moments later, she found herself being hounded by defenders twice her size. The WNBA wasn't college. It was faster, heavier, meaner. Yet Clark didn't flinch. Coming off a screen, she hesitated, created just enough daylight, and launched a step-back three that dropped cleanly through the net. The crowd gasped. She smiled. The rookie jitters? Gone. What remained was the killer instinct that had followed her from Iowa City to the pros. Look at that. Her first pro step back. One broadcaster marveled. And it's right-handed. She usually goes left. Clark was rewriting the book on herself, one play at a time. By the second quarter, the game slowed for her. That eerie calm of a player who sees the floor in slow motion. With defenders closing in, she whipped a one-handed dart through traffic, threading the needle to Christy Wallace for a layup. The pass, laser-sharp, perfectly timed, drew an audible whoa from the arena. That was assist number 4, and it felt like the floodgates had just opened. Every movement screamed control. She wasn't forcing highlights. She was creating inevitabilities. When defenses swarmed, she saw passing angles that others couldn't. When bigs switched on her, she turned it into art. Hesitation, spin, stop, pop. And when the defense dared her to shoot from distance, she made them pay. A few minutes later, she received the ball beyond the arc. Dewana Bonner reached out to contest, but before she could even lift her hand, Clark had already released from the logo. The ball hung in the air, high and pure, and when it dropped, the arena shook. "That might be the deepest shot we've seen from her as a pro," said the play-by-play voice in awe. The Fever bench stood up, shaking their heads, laughing, stunned by the audacity of their own rookie. This wasn't supposed to happen this soon. Rookies weren't supposed to hit logo threes in their first week, weren't supposed to control games like seasoned vets. But Caitlin Clark wasn't a typical rookie. She was a basketball event in human form. In the next stretch of games, Clark started to find her rhythm in chaos. Teams sent double teams at her from the opening tip. Some defenders tried to bump her off balance. Others just tried to chase her off the line. It didn't matter. She learned, adapted, and began to weaponize their pressure. One play summed it up perfectly. A tight possession late in the fourth quarter. Kelsey Mitchell drove into the lane, spun, and found Clark cutting behind her defender. With 5 seconds on the shot clock, Clark slipped inside, extended, and kissed the ball off the glass to tie the game. The crowd didn't just cheer. They screamed. Clark didn't celebrate. She just turned, jaw tight, focused. It was as if she knew this was how things were supposed to go. That night, every young girl in the crowd, every future point guard watching on TV, saw something that felt bigger than basketball. Caitlin Clark wasn't just performing, she was building belief. Her connection with teammates grew quickly. With Nalissa Smith and Aaliyah Boston, she formed one of the league's most electric young cores. Clark's passes turned into art pieces, flicks, shovels, behind-the-back deliveries that defenders couldn't even anticipate. One night against Seattle, she drove into the lane, defenders collapsing, and at the last possible second, when everyone assumed she'd shoot, she flipped a no-look pass behind her to Katie Lou Samuelson for an easy 2. "What a dime!" the announcer shouted. "That's a rookie? No way!" And then, the threes came in flurries. Deep, contested, unthinkable threes. Against Los Angeles, she missed her first 7 shots, the kind of start that would crush most players. But Caitlin Clark is wired differently. With the crowd on edge, she rose again from the right wing, hand in her face, and drilled it. Then another. Then another. She missed her first 7, the broadcaster said. And now she's hit the biggest one of the night. Her coach, Christy Sides, called her relentless. It wasn't just about making shots. It was the refusal to stop taking them. Clark's confidence didn't fluctuate with the scoreboard. It was an unbroken thread that ran through every possession. There were rough nights, sure. Nights when defenses keyed on her. When the physicality felt like a statement. But every game, Clark found new ways to respond. Whether it was a block at the rim, a steal in the passing lane, or a full-court assist that made the crowd gasp. One night she blocked a layup from behind, then sprinted the floor, got the ball back, and buried a pull-up 3 on the next possession. It wasn't just talent. It was tenacity. Her energy spread. Teammates fed off it. Fans fed off it. The Fever, long searching for relevance, suddenly had a pulse again. The league noticed too. Defenders began to pick her up at half-court. Opposing coaches designed schemes just to limit her. She'd smile, that half-smirk of a player who enjoys the challenge, and then find a way to break the wall again. There was a sequence that perfectly captured it. In transition, Clark had the ball near the top of the key. 2 defenders angled to trap her. She looked right, then zipped a pass left, threading it between legs and arms to a cutting teammate for the layup. "You can't teach that," said one analyst afterward. "You can't coach vision like that. That's instinct, pure basketball genius." As her confidence grew, so did her flair. The logo shots became routine. The behind-the-back passes became expected. And with every highlight, the legend expanded. Against Connecticut, she stepped into a deep 3 that rattled in. "She's just fearless," one commentator said. "She's redefining range in this league." But it wasn't all flash. Clark's toughness was just as striking. She absorbed hits, took charges, dove for loose balls. Even when shots weren't falling, she stayed engaged, rebounding, facilitating, lifting teammates. It was the kind of maturity few rookies show, and it was earning her respect fast. "She's relentless," said Sides again. "She doesn't hang her head. She just keeps going." One night, against New York, Clark found herself face-to-face with one of the league's fiercest defenders. It was a test of patience and poise. She dribbled, crossed over, stepped back, from just below the logo, and buried it. The crowd lost it. The bench leapt. Even her opponent, mid-backpedal, could only shake her head in disbelief. That shot wasn't just another 3. It was a statement that Caitlin Clark was no longer adjusting to the WNBA. She was defining it. From that moment on, the season shifted. She wasn't the rookie with promise anymore. She was the problem every team had to solve. By mid-season, Clark was putting together one of the most complete rookie campaigns in recent memory. She was scoring from deep, finishing through contact, leading fast breaks, and racking up assists at a historic rate. She was turning impossible passes into expected plays. The Fever, a team once searching for hope, were now the talk of the league. Home games sold out. Road games felt like home games because everywhere she went, fans packed arenas just to see her. Cameras followed her every step. Warm-ups, huddles, smiles, sighs. Through it all, Clark stayed grounded. After games, she'd talk about team chemistry, learning moments, adjustments. No flash, no ego, just focus. "I'm just trying to get better every day," she'd say. That's really all that matters. But anyone watching knew the truth. She was already changing the game. By mid-season, the Caitlin Clark phenomenon had transformed from a storyline into a movement. Every arena she stepped into became a stage. Every game, a performance. Every possession, a chance for something impossible. The WNBA hadn't seen this kind of gravitational pull in years. A rookie whose presence turned casual viewers into die-hard fans overnight. But for Clark, it was never about the spectacle. It was about the game. The rhythm of it, the reads, the subtle beauty of creation in chaos. And by June, she had mastered that chaos. Her playmaking had reached another level. Early in the year, she had dazzled with no-look passes and cross-court lasers. Now she was orchestrating entire defenses like a composer with a baton. She'd shift her dribble once, twice, forcing help-side defenders to commit. And the instant they blinked, zip, the ball was gone, threading through traffic for another assist. Against Seattle, she hit Kelsey Mitchell in stride for a corner three that tied the franchise assist record. Then, the next game, she broke it, her 13th assist of the night. A baseline dish that looked more like sleight of hand set a new standard. Most assists ever by a rookie in Fever history. The fans at Gainbridge Fieldhouse rose in ovation, chanting her name. "That's not normal," one commentator said. "That's generational." But the real turning point came in July. It was a humid night in Indiana, and the Fever were hosting Phoenix, a veteran team with legends, stars, and pride. On paper, it was supposed to be a measuring stick for the rookie and her young team. But from the opening tip, Caitlin Clark looked like she had decided the outcome herself. She opened with a deep three, then another. Then she attacked downhill, absorbing contact, finishing through traffic. Every possession felt like a duel between experience and youth. And Clark was winning. When Phoenix doubled her at midcourt, she split the defenders with a behind-the-back dribble and fired a no-look bounce pass to Boston for the and one. The crowd erupted. Even Diana Taurasi, a future Hall of Famer, cracked a smile. "Okay, kid," she mouthed as she jogged back up the floor. "I see you." By the third quarter, Clark was flirting with something special. The assists piled up, rebounds collected naturally, and the scoring came in bursts. Logo threes, transition floaters, step-backs off one foot. When the final horn sounded, the crowd rose as the announcer made it official. Caitlin Clark had recorded the first triple-double in Indiana Fever history. The locker room exploded in celebration. Teammates poured water bottles over her head. Coaches cheered. Staff snapped photos. Clark, drenched and smiling, laughed through it all. "I just want to win," she told reporters afterward, her voice steady, humble. That's the only stat that really matters. But everyone knew what they had just witnessed. A moment that would be replayed for decades. A rookie rewriting the record books, not out of luck, but out of pure, crafted genius. And she didn't slow down. In the following weeks, Clark entered a stretch of play that felt almost supernatural. Her confidence bloomed into dominance. Against New York, she buried 5 threes, each one deeper than the last. Against Chicago, she dropped 29 points and threaded 11 assists, including a full-court pass that barely left her fingertips before landing perfectly in Mitchell's hands for a layup. It was art in motion. Fans called her the logo queen. Opponents called her a nightmare to guard. Coaches simply shook their heads and said, "You can't scout that." But what separated Clark wasn't just skill. It was feel. She knew when to accelerate, when to dish, when to dare the crowd to gasp. There was a basketball IQ at work that few possessed. A combination of instinct and calculation that made every decision look effortless. When defenders tried to body her, she used their momentum against them. When teams sent traps,